They say humans are irrational when it comes to grief, but grief is patient. It sharpens teeth in the silence and waits. The Scarn Collective didn't know that, not really. They thought they did, thought they understood war, sacrifice, retaliation. But they had never made a man watch a live feed of his dog starving to death in a sealed chamber, alone in a drifting ship, as alien diplomats negotiated amends. They had never seen what happened after. The room was too quiet when the video ended. General Vortha clicked his mandibles once. It was an error. Logistics miscommunication. We did not know the Terran pet was aboard until after disengagement. No, the human said softly. His name was Elias Grant, ex-Special Forces, now a diplomat. Clean suit, calm voice. No? Vortha asked. No, it wasn't an error. You sealed the ship. You ignored the biosigns. You left her there because you thought she was just an animal. A pause. She wasn't, he added. She was family. The Scarn ambassador, a bloated thing with 3 throats, attempted diplomacy. We offered compensation. You offered credits. Yes, the ambassador said, proud. A generous sum. Elias stood. I don't want money. He turned and walked out. They didn't see him for a while after that. Rumors circulated that he'd resigned, that Earth had reassigned him to deep space, that he'd gone feral, living off the grid in some asteroid belt monastery, punching craters into stone walls to manage his feelings. But then came the disappearances, one by one. Mid-tier Scarn officers, logisticians, quartermasters, communications techs, all linked to the derelict incident, as the files called it. No sign of struggle, no blood, just gone. Vanished from their quarters, from shuttles, from orbital stations, and each time, just outside the border of their systems, a data packet arrived, video footage, from inside the derelict, the dog, weak, whining, scratching at the door, dying, and every alien forced to watch it before transmission cut off. The first body wasn't found until week 5, or rather, it wasn't a body, just a name tag, floating near the edge of the Varnax expanse, deep in a restricted zone near a gravitational anomaly, a black hole, the kind of thing nobody in their right mind got close to, unless you had a reason, unless grief had teeth. Aboard the Gravedigger, his custom retrofitted assault vessel turned trap, Elias sat in silence. He didn't smile, he didn't rage. He played recordings of her bark, studied the logs from that last transmission. He had memorized every hour she was alone, every cry, every scratch on the steel. He didn't want revenge, not really. He wanted fairness. And in the cold, perfect logic of the void, fairness looked a lot like gravity, unforgiving, undeniable, and final. The Scarn High Council officially condemned the serial disappearances. They issued warrants, blamed rogue pirates, even claimed it might be a rogue AI targeting them. But they knew. They knew. They just couldn't prove it, because every time one of them vanished, the only sign left behind was a recording of a dog's final moments, time-stamped, labeled, how you treated her. Then silence. Then gravity. It was week 12 when they realized the pattern. Elias wasn't hunting randomly. He was going down the command list. Every officer who signed off, every technician who ignored alerts, every supervisor who laughed at the complaint logs that had warned them of a biological presence aboard the ship, one by one, down a list only he seemed to have memorized. And at the end of it, there were only 2 names left, Ambassador Krell and General Vortha. On the 98th day, Vortha awoke to find himself aboard a dim, humming vessel. He was strapped to a chair, no restraints, just heavy gravity plating that made moving feel like lifting boulders. Across from him, Elias sat with a cup of coffee. He didn't speak for the first full minute, just sipped, watched the stars through the viewport, let the weight settle. I studied Scarn doctrine, Elias said. You value legacy, right? Bloodlines, deeds carved into history. Vortha didn't respond. I get that. My people do too. We make monuments, names on stone, statues. But you know what happens when someone hurts your kin? Vortha bared his teeth. We erase them. Elias nodded, then gestured toward the viewport. Outside, space twisted, stretched. A black hole, massive and hungry, turned slowly in the distance. I'm not going to erase you, Vortha. Elias said quietly. I want you remembered. He slid a chip into the console. It played her last moments, every single one. Vortha watched, couldn't look away, and as the last whimper echoed across the chamber, Elias stood. I renamed this vessel, he said. It used to be Peregrine. Now it's Justice for Luna. He walked away. The airlock behind Vortha opened, and gravity did the rest. That left one, Krell, the one who'd laughed, who said it was just a beast, who said humans grow new ones. He wasn't found in his penthouse, or his embassy, or even in his shuttle, which vanished en route to a summit. But the summit attendees found something waiting on their screens, a dog, weak, gentle eyes, tired, then static, then one final message. She waited by the door until the air ran out, and Krell, his last words were reportedly just two panicked shrieks. Tell them I'm sorry. The black hole didn't answer. It never did. Elias Grant returned to Earth a year later. No parades, no charges. He wasn't a soldier anymore, not a diplomat, just a man with a memory. He adopted another dog, named her Hope. She slept beside his bed every night, and in the silence between her breathing, he sometimes whispered stories about Luna, the one they left behind, the one who now had a star named after her, near the black hole, where silence remembers, where grief waits, where justice fell. They called it the Luna Line, an unofficial border, not drawn in treaties, but carved into fear. It stretched across 5 systems, everyone formerly loyal to the Skarn Collective, now abandoned, deserted, haunted, not by ghosts, but by the knowledge that one human had made gravity a weapon of grief, and he was not done. The ship creaked. Metal didn't usually do that in vacuum, but Justice for Luna wasn't a usual ship. It had personality, memory, a smell even, burned oil and coffee grounds. Elias stood at the observation deck, arms crossed, staring into the dark. His new dog, Hope, dozed on the console beside him, soft brown fur rising and falling. He didn't speak to her the way he did with Luna. Not yet. But every night, he'd turn on the feed, rewatch those old clips, her bark, her wag, the way she'd tilt her head when he said treat. She had waited by the door for 12 days before the oxygen failed, scratched until her paws bled, waited because she trusted him, because she thought he was coming back. And now, he was just making good on that promise. Late, but relentless. He wasn't hunting now. He was building. Each of the exiled Skarn outposts had supplies, unused ports, communications relays. Elias tapped into them, created signal loops that intercepted Skarn traffic, pings that whispered his presence. He didn't hide, didn't mask his ship. He wanted them to see him coming, the man with the black hole behind him, the man with the collar hanging from the dash, the man who didn't say a word when the lights dimmed and another predator was dragged into the dark. The Federation sent an envoy, not to stop him, but to ask if he'd consider stopping. Her name was Daya Malkov, Earthborn, ex-UN, now a liaison to the Neutral Accord. She boarded Justice for Luna with a bottle of whiskey and a wariness in her eyes. You know what people are saying? She asked, sitting across from him. I try not to, Elias said. They're calling you the gravity judge. He snorted. That's dumb. I agree. Sounds like a low-budget vid series. They drank. Then silence. Then, we get it, she said softly. What they did, it wasn't forgivable. Elias said nothing. But this, dropping them into black holes? They weren't people. They were cowards. You don't think Luna would want you to stop? That made him flinch. She saw it, pressed harder. Luna didn't want revenge. She wanted you. She waited for you. I know, he said, voice thin. Then come home. He looked at Hope, at the rusted tag hanging next to the controls. No, he said. Not yet. They tried to trap him after that. Skarn warships posed as humanitarian vessels near the edge of the Lyra belt. He docked without firing a shot, walked aboard, no weapons, and yet, when the ship was found a day later, it was adrift. Every Skarn crew member gone. The ship's black box contained a single file, a dog, waiting by the door, then static, no survivors, just a collar in the captain's chair, and silence. The galaxy adjusted. Cargo ships rerouted around the Luna Line. Skarn diplomats fled off-world under aliases. Some resigned. A few defected to Earth, testified at hearings, cried in front of human courts, begged for forgiveness. Elias didn't kill those ones. They got to live. But every time they looked at a dog, their hearts clenched. They remembered her face. They remembered the air running out. One day the messages started, not from governments, not from soldiers, from children, human, Scarn, even Jaraxian. Messages sent to justice for Luna's transponder. Simple. Honest. I'm sorry. I would have saved her. I had a dog once too. His name was Max Elias, archived every single one. And for the first time in over a year, he smiled. Hope barked at a passing comet once, no reason, just instinct. Elias chuckled, then froze, because it sounded like Luna, same tone, same rhythm. He sank into the chair and wept until his voice cracked, not because of pain, but because something in him had shifted. Grief was still there, but the teeth weren't as sharp, the silence not as deep. The black hole didn't call to him as loudly. That night, he opened a folder marked Final Name. The last one. Krithar Sol, the technician who'd overridden the airlocks on Luna's ship, who made the final decision to seal the chamber and silence the alerts, who labeled her presence as non-priority organic matter. He was hiding somewhere near the Singularity Reefs, a lawless zone between dying stars. Elias checked Hope's food, filled the bowl, pat her head, then set course, not because he wanted to kill, but because he had a promise to keep. Luna had waited. Now it was someone else's turn. There were places so far from galactic law that even pirates got nervous approaching them. The Singularity Reefs was one of those places, a chaotic collision of gravity wells, radiation pockets, and drifting ruins from wars older than memory. Navigation systems lied here, time fractured. Ships screamed on frequencies no one answered, but justice for Luna flew through it like it knew the place, because it did. Elias had been planning this visit for over 6 months. He'd mapped every unstable wormhole, every decaying orbital minefield, every electromagnetic ghost, and Krithar Sol was somewhere in the middle, the last name on the list. Sol had changed identities 3 times. He lived under a synthetic name now, Professor Rain Veldovarn, on an asteroid settlement shaped like a cracked egg, orbiting the dying sun, Varthus 9. His role? Bioethics instructor. A joke, surely. He wore glasses now, not for function, Scarn eyes didn't need them, but to appear scholarly, fragile, peaceful. He taught younglings about the moral cost of interspecies cooperation. He even gave speeches on forgiveness. What a fraud. Elias docked silently, didn't trigger sensors, didn't fire a shot. He simply walked through the airlock, Hope trotting beside him, a little vest on her chest that read, "Emotional support animal, don't run." People stared, not because they recognized him. Most here were too far outside the galactic core to care, but because he moved like a thunderstorm, wrapped in skin. Sol was finishing a lecture when Elias entered the open-air forum. And thus we must always account for the emotional imprint of our actions, even when dealing with non-sapient species. The lights flickered. Elias stepped forward. Hope sat down at his feet, calm as a statue. Krithar Sol's skin drained of color. His voice cracked. You can't. This is a protected learning zone." Elias reached into his coat, pulled out a small recording cube, tossed it onto the floor. It lit up, a barking sound, then scratching, then whimpers. Sol collapsed to his knees. I didn't know. There were orders. I wasn't the only one." Elias looked around, students frozen in confusion, fear, awe. "You teach ethics now?" he asked, tone flat. Sol nodded, hands trembling. "Good. Then you understand this isn't murder." He tapped his wrist console. Sol disappeared. 1 second he was there, the next, gone, not teleported, extracted. Aboard Justice for Luna, a specific pod opened, labeled Passenger 13, Final Name. Elias didn't look back, just whistled for Hope. They walked out as if finishing a grocery run. Sol woke in a room with soft lighting and one screen. On loop, Luna's final hour. Sometimes the screen glitched, showed his own panicked face, a live feed, of him, alone. As the ship neared a gravitational event, he screamed. No one answered. Justice didn't need words. It needed closure, and gravity would handle the rest. But Elias didn't watch the drop. He couldn't, because something strange was happening back in the galaxy. The messages had stopped, not the angry ones. Those never came. The kind ones, the apologies, the condolences, they were gone, replaced by requests. People wanted to talk, to listen, to remember. Galactic leaders invited him to speak. Mothers asked him to tell Luna's story to their children, and for the first time in a very, very long time. Elias hesitated. He looked at Hope. She tilted her head. It reminded him so much of Luna that his chest ached. Maybe, he thought, maybe vengeance wasn't the ending. Maybe it was just the beginning. He went back to Earth, not for revenge, but for something harder. Forgiveness, not for them, for himself. He took a small house near the coast, built a shrine to Luna in the backyard, not just a headstone, but a full monument, carved from the metal of the ship she died on, engraved with the words, "She waited by the door." Hope sat beside him every morning as he drank coffee by that stone, and for the first time he stopped watching the footage. He didn't need to. He remembered, and that was enough. But the galaxy never forgot. Whispers of justice for Luna echoed in every port. Pirates crossed themselves when dogs barked near docking bays. Skarn citizens left flowers at Earth embassies. Some cultures even renamed their pets Luna as a symbol of loyalty. The black hole he used? It was renamed too, unofficially. They called it the Collar, because it was the last thing anyone ever saw before gravity claimed them. Elias never claimed to be a hero or a villain. He didn't write books, didn't make speeches, but the galaxy changed because of him. They learned what it meant when a human lost someone they loved. They learned that dogs were not property, not pets, but part of the soul. And some souls, when wronged, don't scream. They don't rage. They wait until it's time to come home. The Federation wanted to give him a medal. Elias declined, twice. Then he stopped replying. He wasn't interested in awards from the same council that once ignored the petitions begging for his crew's rescue. They called it bureaucracy. He called it betrayal. So when they offered a parade, he offered static. When they sent a statue, he melted it for parts. But there was one invitation he accepted, quietly and without press. It came from a child, a Skarn child. The letter arrived in handwriting, not print, not neural link, ink, paper, sincere. Dear Mr. Elias, my name is Kalo. My father was a technician on the ship where Luna died. I never knew what he did until I found your story. I'm sorry. I don't want to be like him. Will you come to my school and talk to us? We have 3 dogs. Their names are Luna, Bark Bark, and Tooth King. Please don't drop me into space. Love, Kalo. Elias laughed for the first time in months. It hurt. It also healed. He went. Not because of obligation, because of the signature. Love, Kalo. No one had written that to him in years. The school was a repurposed orbital facility orbiting Telrex 4. It smelled like paint, recycled air, and poorly hidden cafeteria food. The walls were plastered with childish art, stars, planets, odd creatures that may have been dogs or explosive fruits. And when he stepped inside the auditorium, every child cheered, even the ones from species that had never cheered before. Kalo ran up and hugged his leg without asking. Elias froze, then patted his back. It felt like anchoring to something real. He spoke about Luna, not the vengeance, the dog, the friend, how she used to chase shadows, how she growled at microwave popcorn, how she once brought him a stick larger than a torpedo shell. Kids asked questions. Some cried, some just stared. Hope lay beside him the whole time, tail occasionally thumping, soaking in the attention like a queen. One Juraxian child asked, "Did Luna forgive the ones who hurt her?" Elias paused. "I think she would have," he said, "but I didn't." And that was the most honest thing he'd said aloud in years. Afterward, Kalo gave him a painting. Crude, crayon, but unmistakable. Elias, Luna, Hope, standing on a hill under stars. A spaceship overhead shaped like a giant dog collar. He kept it, hung it inside Justice for Luna, just above the console. And for the first time, when he passed the black hole, he didn't slow down. But the galaxy wasn't done writing his story, because sometimes stories echo, and sometimes the echo becomes legend. One day, years later, a Skarn ship signaled distress. Its life support failed. No answers, no time. until a civilian ship docked, justice for Luna, no weapons drawn, just emergency supplies, an oxygen refill, a meal, and a message carved into the cargo crate. This is for Luna. Elias never gave a name, didn't stay, didn't speak, but word got out. The man who dropped aliens into gravity's maw had saved scarred civilians. The galaxy erupted in confused silence, and then, maybe for the first time, in hope, because if he could forgive, maybe others could too. But make no mistake, he never softened, he never said what they did was right, he just chose not to become what he hated. And the universe noticed. Peace talks resumed. Pet shelters opened on space stations. A galactic pet bill of rights was passed, with Luna's name at the top. Some called it excessive, some called it justice. Elias didn't comment. He just added a second dog bed beside the first one on the ship. He wasn't replacing Luna. You can't replace family. But Hope didn't bark alone anymore. She had a new companion, Rescue, a skinny mutt from a mining colony, missing an ear, tail permanently crooked. She slept curled under the dash, snoring like a drunk engine. And Elias? He slept better too. They found Krethar Sol's escape pod years later, still orbiting the edge of the black hole. Empty, no signs of impact, just one word etched into the inside wall, burned by laser. Sorry. Elias never claimed the find. Didn't care. That chapter was closed. His war wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about memory and legacy, and making sure no one forgot the bark that echoed into eternity. The black hole was quieter now, not literally. Black holes didn't make noise, at least not in any way your ears could register. But Elias swore it used to hum, used to call. It had been years since he last fed it. Now he just visited. No crates, no screams, just a man in an old ship, with two dogs beside him, one ghost, one real, and a galaxy watching silently from a safe distance. Hope stretched beside him as the ship drifted near the event horizon. Rescue was curled in a ball under the chair, chewing on a rubber bolt she'd decided was hers. Elias held a steaming cup of coffee, black as the singularity outside. There were no more targets, no more names, just one thing left, and it lived in the silence. The world had moved on. The Scarn had changed, or at least the new generation had. Children who were raised with pictures of Luna, with cautionary tales, not of fear, but of consequence. There were statues in their cities now, not of Elias, he never allowed it, but of Luna, her eyes bright, tail wagging, the inscription simple, she waited. Some thought it was propaganda, others called it propaganda with a soul. Either way, it worked. The galaxy remembered, and that meant he could finally let go. He visited her grave once a year now, never missed it. Even if he had to fly through pirate-held territories or survive 2 attempts at ship theft, both of which ended badly for the thieves. One involved a misused airlock, the other a surprisingly vengeful Pomeranian on board. Every visit, he'd leave a single treat on the gravestone, peanut butter biscuit, her favorite. Then he'd sit in silence. No prayers, no apologies, just memories and gratitude for the bark that saved his humanity. One day, while orbiting a gas giant near the edge of the Orion Drift, Elias received an unusual signal, encrypted, old Earth frequency, a message packet labeled Project Echo for Elias Caney. He hesitated, then played it. The voice that filled the cabin wasn't Scarn, wasn't Federation. It was human, his own voice. A recording from years ago, part of a classified emergency protocol uploaded to deep space relays. He had forgotten it existed. If you're hearing this, I'm probably dead, or pissed, or both. This file contains backup AI cores, ship logs, Luna's health records, and a list of everyone who ever made me smile during that damn war. Elias blinked. What the hell? Also, it contains a protocol I couldn't bring myself to delete. A pause, then static, then Luna's DNA sequence, cloned, stored, unused. He stood up so fast the chair slammed into the wall. Hope barked. Rescue flinched. He looked at the screen, then at the old capsule in storage he'd never opened. The one marked, "Do not open until ready." He opened it. Inside was a cryo canister. Label, Luna Prime, stasis, status, stable. His knees gave out. He fell to the floor, sobbing and laughing, because somehow, some version of him had loved her enough to try, and that version had planned for this. Even in the darkest timeline, there was hope. He brought her back, not right away. The ethics protocols were strict, but with Federation approval and maybe a little arm-twisting from a dozen member worlds, they greenlit it. Luna came back, same eyes, same bark, same head tilt, and when she saw him, she wagged once, then leapt into his arms, and the galaxy finally exhaled. Elias retired that year, not because he was tired, but because the mission was over. Luna was home, and peace had taken root in places vengeance used to bloom. He opened a sanctuary on Earth, dogs of all species, aliens too. Turns out some aliens had canines of their own. Fluffy things with too many legs and names like Gronch. He didn't care. If it barked, it was welcome. If it waited by the door, it deserved a forever home. The sanctuary was called The Door She Waited By. Visitors came from across the stars. Some left flowers, some left apologies, but most left changed. Elias died at 103, in his sleep, Luna at his feet, hope at his side, rescue on the pillow, snoring. He didn't leave a will, just a note, handwritten on old paper. If you hurt them, I'll find a way back. If you love them, I already forgive you. They buried him next to Luna's old grave, put a collar on the headstone, not hers, his, and inscribed a new message underneath. He came back. She wagged. That was enough.